Next time on Democrat Debates, who's crazier, Marianne Williamson or Joe Biden? Does Bernie Sanders actually have any balls? When will Beto finally just give up and go away? These questions and more probably won't get answered tonight. But anyways, it's the Democrat Debate. The 3 most boring hours of your week. That's right, but we're going to be here for all 3 hours. And yeah. So, we got the debate. A couple of things to get out of the way, just the beginning here, kind of to set the stage. The big thing that's been happening since the last debate is that the proposals that Elizabeth Warren has been putting out has really gained favor with the Democrat left, and they very much they're very much starting to go her way. And Joe Biden, meanwhile, has just been doing and saying stupid things and doesn't appear to be too serious of a contender anymore. Even though he is ahead in the polls, nobody really thinks that he's actually going to win. So Elizabeth Warren is like the de facto front runner right now, with Bernie Sanders very close behind her. And this kind of sets up an interesting dynamic where she will, for the first time, be the one under fire. And we know that she has a lot of negatives. There's the whole Native American thing, although I don't think that these candidates would get into that. But then, you know, some of the questions about whether her proposals are actually realistic. I would expect that at some point, somebody will try and go after her. If Tulsi Gabbard was in the debate, then it would definitely be Tulsi. But I think that Pete or Kamala or any of those people have a huge incentive to just go after her. Even Bernie Sanders, I mean, I don't think that Bernie Sanders wants to go directly at Elizabeth Warren and be confrontational with her, but he definitely needs to take her down a notch here somehow. And I don't know how he can do that, but there's ways of doing it without being, you know, confrontational. So that's kind of the lay of the land. It's still going to be 10 people. So that's still going to make it hard. These other candidates, they're going to have to say something that really catches people's attention. And the problem that I've seen in the past debates is that when you try and go out and just talk policy, it doesn't really catch a whole lot of attention. My recommendation to candidates would be to just go for the jugular. But, of course, Democrats don't love doing that, so maybe they won't do anything. We shall see. And what else? Oh, yeah, and so then I do have some money out there, just so you know. So I think that Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg, because they are not the front runners, they are the ones that have the most upside potential. So I do have a little bit of money on them in the hopes that maybe they say something that increases their chances after the debate. There was also a poll. Actually, let me pull it up here and go to predict it. There was also one that was, will the word Sharpie be mentioned in the debate? And I thought that was a really easy call. Very high probability that somebody is going to use that in a quip of some sort. And so high probability, and they were only asking 25 cents for it per share, which, you know, is a 2-to-1 risk reward ratio. So I totally went for it. So I'm yep. There's still only 25 cents for yes, which I'm surprised. They actually got up to 29 at one point. That's interesting. I think that the probability is a lot higher than the market thinks. So that is the word. That is the word for today. Today's word is Sharpie. Yeah. Hey, Rackley. How is it going, man? Tell me, what is your what's your outlook on the markets and the cryptocurrencies lately? I'm kind of like I actually pulled my money off of the exchange because I don't want to be involved right now, and I'm concerned that if the markets take a downturn, that not even Coinbase might be safe. I but we'll see. The thing is that they could dip and then go to a good spot to buy and recover very quickly. But if it's the right news, if it's like, you know, the news that we think it is on Tether, then there it'll be ugly, right? You know what? I should turn on the light here. Let me turn on the light here. There we go. That kind of, without it, it's not very, doesn't look very good. Oh, really? So are you mining stuff? What are you mining right now? Well, it looks like ABC News might be getting into it much quicker than CNN was. With CNN, it was like 10 minutes into the debate before we got anything, which was ridiculous. I should probably go. I still mine the garlic coin. I should be mining some other things, but I feel obligated to mine garlic coin. I getcha. Yeah. I feel like, somebody has to mine it. Like if I stop mining it, then everybody stop mining it. They need the hash power. So here the debate moderator speaks Spanish, but I wonder which candidate is going to be the first one to pull out the Spanish. I wonder if like every single one of them are going to try and pull out Spanish here. I'm not the only one, but I'm probably a significant amount of the hash power on it. And just for you guys that haven't been with us the past two debates, I have the volume muted. I have the debate here. I'm showing the video, but I have to mute the volume. So I would go out to the ABC News YouTube channel and just, open it in a separate window and play both of them at the same time so you can hear me and the debate, or if you're watching on replay. And we do that because otherwise you could get a copyright strike or they take it down. So that's kind of the way that we have to do it. But we've still had fun and some success with this format past two times. So, oh, so ABC News is saying that they're going to be super fair about this, huh? Well, let me make sure we have the tweet deck up. I'm not going to pay too much attention to the tweet deck, to be honest, because I feel like that it can bias my view too much. But I'm going to have it up there, all right? At least this one right here is kind of like tells you stuff that's like, yeah, okay, so there you go. Castro out with the Spanish. These are opening statements. Probably not. Wow. But you gave up after a week. Yeah, I mean, I'm not the only one on the garlic coin. And there's actually some people talking about doing some development. Like they still want to get into it. I think that if the altcoin market wasn't doing so poorly, that maybe garlic coin would be doing a little bit better. But I have way more garlic coin than I ever dreamed that I would be able to get. And the funny thing is that even if you just bought $100 worth of garlic coin, you could like double its price. Oh man, they have really pulled out the hokey statements. I really hope that if they go after each other that it's not so corny. Oh, I forget that Donald Trump is in Baltimore tonight. Facebook suspends Netanyahu page for hate speech. Good grief. Saying she wants to be president for all of America. That's totally. Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. I'm where I'm at is I think it might be another year or two before we see another all-time high. Just because the market just doesn't seem healthy to me. By the way, I haven't even actually looked at a chart today. Well, since it's not too bad. It's still up. I was thinking maybe they were going to get a little bit of a sell today, but it looks like they were able to hold it. Here was the buy. Here was when they started. All the crazy stuff happened in the traditional markets, so it looks like they were able to pull it out into a win anyways. That's funny. Oh, I bet. Yeah, that's a good trade to be in. It's a really good trade to be in. Did gold take a hit today? We should pull up. It's interesting that so many of the candidates are being um, unifying messages, but Beto was very much not a unifying message, was it? Why are these guys going all unifier now? Yeah, well, the reason I'm wondering is because the treasuries are getting killed, and I would think that gold would be following it too, but maybe not as hard. Apparently, there are some Andrew Yang fans in the audience. Yeah. Oh yeah. You know what? I don't think anybody can be ready for 3 hour marathon of debate, but we're gonna try and make it through it. Okay, yeah, gold did go down. Sure. Well, the short term view for treasuries at the moment doesn't look too good. Yeah, yeah, I know what you meant. I didn't quite catch that he had to wait because of all of the Andrew Yang people. Is that what that was? Oh yeah, I forgot that he was a veteran of the war in Afghanistan. It was a good feather in his cap. Yeah, see this thing here in the treasuries? It's pretty hard downturn. And when you look at it on a larger chart, you can kind of see how it's just like from here to here. That's a really likely to retrace. Cool, cool, cool. So you got this to here. But then after that, if it decides that it's got momentum and it's going to keep going, is it just going to dump? And there could be a real temper tantrum if it does. Oh boy. Hmm. Kamala's going to go for the same strategy uh, that Beto was doing. Well, that's not accurate, but okay. At least that's not what the attorney general said. Mm-mm-mm. Oh, you think that any Democrat that gets elected isn't going to do that too? Come on. Maybe if Andrew Yang got elected, which has like 0% chance of happening, but the rest of them, especially Biden, they totally would spend in the military, right? Oh boy. It's something that he never does, folks. He's never blunt. Goes without saying. That is expensive. Well, here's the thing: as there's never people when they talk about the military complex. Hold on, I'm trying to pay attention to what he's saying at the same time. This is a little sounds a little crazy to me. Mm, I don't know if this is a good look for him, but I'm sure that some people will like it. Pretty please. He did not. I do not think he looked good there. Uh huh. So pay attention here on this one. It was $50 a semester when she went to college. Hmm. Whose fault is it that it's so high? I wonder. Okay. Well, I didn't think that there was anything special about her message, but her presentation was okay. I felt like Bernie Sanders' presentation was a little scary. Asterisk, asterisk, s. Well, productivity as of late has not been so good, but it's true. Productivity has been going down, but there's a lot more competition too. So I don't see how you can blame it all on the gold standard. Honestly, the economy, the modern economy, simply wouldn't be able to function anymore with the gold standard. It's just too big, and gold is just too rare and easy to manipulate. There you go. I thought that Joe Biden had the best opening statement. So I was going to say, unlike the military, the military industrial complex, think of it this way: like, when has there ever been a time in human history when there wasn't like wars and rumors of wars and things like that? Like, this is people this is people from the earliest stages of human history. Genocide and things like that has been happening. And so when you look at like a lot of military spending happens, well, yeah, that's the way that the United States got to where it is. That's the history of humankind. And anytime that a candidate comes in and says, I'm not going to have the wars and things like that, I always just go, uh huh, okay. Because it's just not realistic. It's just when they're in office, they're going to see the challenges and they're going to realize, well, there you go. They're going to talk about Obamacare first, huh? So here's the interesting thing on the insurance thing is that from the polling that I've seen, what Joe Biden just said, there is the majority opinion in the Democrat Party. They want a public option. I don't know. I think maybe in a like multi-year time frame, then metals might still be a good bet. But for the next like till the end of the year, I'm not so sure. It seems to me that those safe haven trades are getting obliterated this week, and that's probably not just a one off thing that reverses, you know? Well, there've been there's trouble with military funding in general, but I think that you're referring to that some of the funds that were used for the border wall might have gone to some other projects, and I I honestly don't care, but the thing is that there's a lot of things that should get funded that aren't, and there's a lot of things that are funded that shouldn't be, and what you gonna do? Well, when you look on a 10-year time frame, it might be an okay bet. The problem I've had with gold is, you know, it's very attached to the economy, and like on a 10-year time frame, if we have like a recession and then things get better, then you might find it at the same place that it was. Like you said, it's really low on an inflation adjusted basis. No, don't believe her. Listen, folks. You add up all the numbers from all her plans, the rich won't be able to pay for it. That was a yes or no question, Elizabeth. costs are going to go up. That's not the way you want to present it. So starting out here saying for all of these things, what's going to happen is costs are going to go up. That's like what's sticks in people's mind. It's not. That wasn't a very good persuasion right there by her. Oh, I definitely remember. Oh no, I was in high school, and I remember watching it all day. It was a wrestling, and my lifting partner came in late, and he's like, "Oh yeah, a plane flew into the building." I'm like, "Whatever." And then we get out of that, and everybody's talking about it, and it kind of I saw the first videos and stuff, and I was like, okay, that's a big deal." I don't think I realized at the time how significant it was going to play in politics, but Bernie Sanders does not look good. Pharmaceutical does not look good. This is not good for Bernie. I might be wrong, but yeah, I remember my dad was flying at the time. Yeah, he it took him a couple of days to get home after that. I remember that. They didn't send us home though. They just nothing happened though. Like we all watched the TV. Yep, yep. So my sister moved to New York um, that August, or like she just started school that semester. So my parents went down there and saw it and everything. Joe Biden's right. Listen, here's the thing about Elizabeth Warren's plan that you got to understand. She has all of these things. She wants health care and child care and get rid of student debt. And she has three things to pay for it: the Uber tax on the rich, an Uber tax on rich companies, and then another tax for Social Security on the rich again. And when you look at her tax on the rich and she says, does it pay for all of this stuff? And it doesn't pay for her healthcare program. And she even admits that in the things when she said. So to pay for this, she's going to have to raise taxes on middle class people. She's not outright saying it, but they know. They did the analysis and they're like, well, we'd have to raise taxes on middle class families too. But we just won't say that. I'm telling you, that's what happened. And he's catching her. I don't know. I mean, I'm not. I think that Joe Biden is spanking these guys. That the media analysis of that coach study was very uh, misleading. Well, they're not new ideas though, Win. Universal healthcare is an idea that's been tried by many different countries. And we know what it leads. We know what it means. It means higher taxes for everybody. Yeah, I think that when that coach study and they came out and they said universal coverage will save money, I felt like with what they, because that's not what this study was about, and they were really misreading the numbers that were in that. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, here's the thing, because I don't want to get into like what is the right policy so much. Obviously, you know that I'm like a free market guy, and I think that if you correct the market, that we will bring down the costs and that everything will be cheaper without having to have a government takeover of it. But what is their name? Amy Klobuchar and Joe Biden are saying here is what the majority of the Democrat Party, according to polling, believes. They think that there should be a public option, but they don't want to ban, like if you have a healthcare company right now that you like and you're willing to pay a lot for it, they they don't think that that should change. And that's not what Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders want. They want to abolish the healthcare industry as we know it and make the government the only valid healthcare option. That's their plan. And Amy and Biden know this, and they're playing it up. Well, I'm saying the Democrat Party as a whole, like the voters, they would prefer a public option. Oh. Wow. He listen, they're getting destroyed. Pete, that was a good start right there from Pete. He's so articulate. I maybe it's just something about him and the way that he talks that resonates with me particularly, but he just is such a good public speaker to me. That the messaging that he's giving here. Here's the thing: the people that really like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, they aren't going to be deterred by this. But what's happening is they're giving Biden and Buttigieg new life. Some of these people that are like, "Oh, I'm not so sure that Bernie Sanders can win," they're going like, "Yeah, I'm a little concerned that Bernie Sanders would not be able to win an election. His voice sounds hoarse. He doesn't look good." And Elizabeth Warren is kind of like his partner in crime right now today, and they're losing in an argument against the moderates. I think that the people that are like, I care about who can defeat Donald Trump and nothing else. I think that those people right now are thinking, I think I would rather have someone. I think that of the Democrat candidates that I think, keep in mind that what I vote on is a very different sort of a thing because I try to avoid things that are. I mean, you'll notice I'll point out things that I think that are going to affect the voters. Like Bernie Sanders doesn't look good. That's going to affect voters, even though it has nothing to do with his policy. I'm personally not always like a huge stickler on policy because I know that once somebody gets in office that the look of things and everything is very different, and what matters to me more is how they're going to work with people and are they actually going to be competent when they're in office. And to me, the person that shows the qualities that I think would be the most important in a president is probably Tulsi, to be honest. She seems much, and I don't agree with her foreign policy at all or anything, but she just seems like the most mature and level-headed person. It's just QA on steroids. I agree. Kamala's doing an okay job here. Um. Anyways, and then after with beyond them, I think that Pete is a good bet. I mean, I think that uh, if you elect Pete, I think he gives you the best chance. To be honest, Pete or Kamala Harris. Uh, I, I suppose I would have a hard time justifying that with polling, but because the problem is there's a lot of people that aren't fans of Buttigieg, right? Like he's not considered serious because black people don't like him. Nah, it's already the Republican Party has basically already shut down any kind of challenge. Like most of the states aren't even going to hold the contest now. No way. No way they'd give that money back. Oh, what? As a socialist, you have a lot more confidence in corporate America than I do. Wow. That was a good quip. Biden Biden is on the ball today. This is not the same guy that was in the last debate. Mm-hmm. See, so this right here with oh, he's gonna destroy him. The thing is Biden just brought up a really good point. Sure, it is. You got to think about it from the party's point of view, right? Okay, what advantage is there to holding a race? You don't think his heart is in his race? I can tell you what, there was some real fire in him just there. Sure felt like that last debate, but it was a little bit different on this one. But no, like for the Republican Party, there is no advantage to holding a race. You spending money, it just hurts your chances in the general election. It's better to just shut it down. And of course they're doing. Of course that's exactly what they're doing. It's always comes down to practicality. I know that there's the way what we regular people would prefer to have like an open discussion and give everybody a chance, but in practice it just doesn't. Yeah, yeah, I know, right? Well, I think that Beto O'Rourke is doing better, but he still seems out of his league to me, and I don't think that his delivery is very good. Adderall, it might be. I mean, he's done something. But I seem to recall reading something saying that he was sick the last debate or something of that nature. He was out of energy. I don't know. He just seems much more prepared this time. Wonder if there's already been a change here. By the way, nobody said Sharpie yet. We need somebody to say Sharpie. Sanders is going down a little bit in the past hour. Bernie is whispering in his ear. What's with that? Oh, you're totally right. You're totally right. I remember that video where they slowed down what I forget who it was or what the video was, but I remember that. Although the thing, oh no, it was the hit. It was the one where like somebody touched a White House aide. But the thing was is that like somebody will doctor up the video, but it was already a thing before that, and so I don't think that the faked videos really matter. Yeah, it was Jim Acosta, but the thing was, is Jim Acosta touched her. What he did was inappropriate, anyways. That nobody. It was always that's the thing that's always weird about those ones. Is always like they didn't need to doctor the video. What was the original thing was good enough. But you know, people play those things up for clicks. That's why they do that. Is they're trying to generate controversy, and sometimes they'll do something in fake on purpose just to try and get everybody to call them out because you get hits from people calling you out on lying. Not even kidding. Wow, there he was just about to cut him off there. Andrew Yang. Wow. Yeah, sure. You know what? Jim Acosta shouldn't even be a press pool recorder. I think he's a embarrassment to the press corps, but that doesn't justify anybody harassing him. And that's funny that they're talking about insurance here, and Andrew Yang just brought up the right wing idea, which is, hey, we need tort reform and things like that. Hmm. Nah. Well, there's something going on. Like YouTube keeps recommending Andrew Yang stuff to me. Like, why would it recommend Andrew Yang stuff to me? This is ridiculous. The thing is, millennials. There are certain things about the world that millennials just don't understand, and one of them is the economy, and they seem to be falling for this universal income thing. And whenever I talk to the Andrew Yang fans, they just don't seem incredibly bright. But the problem is how is he going to expand his base? I mean, that's his problem. He has like the basic universal income, but like the 80% of America that thinks that basic universal income is a terrible idea, they're never going to vote for him. I know, but I'm the older end of the millennials, and I'm very different. You have to clear your feed in your history, maybe. I don't think it had anything to do with anything that I watched. There seems to be some sort of strange keyword trap that he's created. I mean, he's an internet guy. Surely it's not. Surely he's working the keywords. You know what I'll do? There you go. See, you're even older than me. I just don't think that our end of the millennial, what they consider millennials, and like the younger end of the millennials that are just getting into the workforce now are completely different. Um, so every day I'll go on YouTube and I'll search for videos about nuclear power. But when I go to my homepage, it never recommends nuclear power videos to me. Eh, I'm surprised popularity matters. There's certainly some high energy people out there, though. Hmm. This is going to be interesting. Inspired by this president. This is such a lie. Right. You're totally right, Rackley, that YouTube is trying to ingrediate itself with the mainstream media, which is really dumb because it was the ability to get away from that made them popular in the first place, you know? 1997. Does he have like a lazy eye or something? Every time there's something about his stare that's really weird to me. See, so what he's saying here, he's talking about woke original sin, right? Everybody's racist. So the only thing that you can do to prove that you're not racist is or to atone for the fact that everybody is racist is to do as much as you can about it and fight it and you know do special things for historically disadvantaged groups. So basically, you have to be more woke than everybody else. That's what he's playing off of here. Oh, does he really? That's cool. I'm just trying to catch a little bit of what he's saying here because um I mean this is an issue that the base loves, but it's really hard to get yourself a leg up in the primary with. Oh, maybe. Um but then the thing is that they're saying things that aren't accurate. And I'm paying attention because I want to see if the right responds to it and tries to debunk it or not. Like the thing that Castro said that this guy traveled to Houston, he was inspired by the president. That's absolutely false. In fact, the if, I think we're talking about the guy with the manifesto, right? And he says the exact opposite in the manifesto. Hmm. So here is Booty Judge again. This is one of the vulnerabilities that he has is that they think that because of, I guess, they've had problems in South Bend, that this is an issue for him, and he's coming out and he's got a plan, but it's too cerebral. It doesn't resonate with people. Yeah. I do recall him kind of doing that. Yeah. But I think that Biden does that because he's being forward. He's coming in and he's inserting himself as like, hey, I'm the guy that's going to fight for you, the American people. I'm going to be the guy that is not going to increase middle income taxes. I'm going to protect you from large corporations. These sorts of things. I actually understand what's going on, and I'm not naive like some of these other guys. And so he kind of presents himself forward like that. And then when he's done, he kind of, okay, say your crazy thing. And then he steps back up. But let's watch that next time he talks. Oh, I, oh, there. When Kamala Harris speaks, she doesn't seem genuine at all to me. Like this, the crocodile tears. You know what I mean? You're not a victim. Yeah, it's the crocodile tears. It's so interesting to me that the most vicious candidate on the stage is always playing this sympathy angle. Well, he's a centrist now. So like back in the Vietnam era, I don't think that anybody would be saying that Joe Biden was a centrist. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I see what you mean. He's definitely the moderate centrist voice in this race. Oh, they want me to do a survey, maybe later. Is it a historically bad college? Nobody. Why didn't anybody say that earlier? What do you mean by DLC? Uh, you know, what you're saying is true, but I reject this idea that there's political extreme A and political extreme B, and somewhere in between the two of those is the right thing. The world is so much more complicated than that and will always resist any kind of straight categorization. there are some ideas that are going to be very far right that are correct, and there are some ideas that are going to be very far left that are correct, and there are going to be some ideas that can't really be categorized into either of those two categories that are going to be correct. But the fact is that you have to form coalitions in order to win in politics, and so by its very nature, you have to have a progressive party and a conservative party because those are the two major ways of thinking that people have. Exactly. Right. So I like to say you want to have people of different ideas, and yeah, even some people that are have extreme ideas, and then all get together and understand the issue. Popularity Matters says we don't have a progressive party. What see on in the Democrat Party today, I consider a progressive party. But yeah. Oh, were we gonna get food? Hold on. I would say that the Democrat Party as a whole is a center left party, but it is without question being led around at the moment by the progressives. Sure, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. But they're the ones that are I mean, those are the ones that are front and center, right? And their activist friends seem to have the most power in the party right now. Right. Yeah. It's interesting to me. It's interesting to me that they talk about the criminal justice system. We just reformed the criminal justice system. None of them are saying anything about that and what they liked and didn't like in it. And I'm not hearing a lot of like very specific things about what they want to do. It's just like, oh, there's a big problem here. You notice how they're doing that? It's like there's a big problem. We should do something about it, but they're not really getting into how they would do that. Right. Well, the thing you got to understand is there's all these people that are like they're like in their 50s and 60s and they made all their money on Wall Street and they're the donors and they've been the base of the Democrat Party in the past, right? And they do not like the left because they're not socialists. Right? These people brought Clinton into power, and they might not necessarily have liked her, but she was the best that they had. And then you had this other group of people that really, in my opinion, started with the Huffington Post. And they formed an online, well, the Huffington Post and MoveOn.org, and they formed an online coalition that is extremely progressive. And as what's happening is that those people, because they've been getting a lot of funding, even though they haven't made a lot of money themselves, they're getting a lot of power. And they've always been socialists. They've never actually been in markets and made money, right? So they don't care about those things that the traditional left believes in. And the traditional left is kind of like, well, we should just let the kids have it, or we should let the minority voices out. They're influenced by this argument that they're white males and their opinion doesn't matter. And that's why the left is controlled so much by its progressive wing of the party, even though those views don't match up with reality or what the Democrat base truly wants. Hence, you get this thing with Joe Biden where Joe Biden really isn't that great of a candidate, and yet he's in the lead because he's the only centrist, really. Only, well, only credible one, at least. Which, but he's almost not even a centrist, right? He really is. He's what was far left for those older Democrat bundlers. They totally do. Well, I'm probably misstating. I'm kind of exaggerating, aren't I? He they believe that if you are white, that by your very nature, that you are more likely to um, support the patriarchy, and the only way that historically disadvantaged groups can get what they want is if they're in power. Well, that was the far left back then, guys. Hmm. You just kind of only look at one particular issue that he's supported and say that he was left or not, right? It's just the thing is that, like, he's been consistently far left in the Democrat Party, but he was also a Democrat, and at the time, pre Nixon, that was the Democrats. But not only that, but the segregation thing. Okay, they're kind of misstating what he's said too. Okay, because like the busing problem is a complicated issue. Most of the people um, that would benefit from busing don't support busing. So I don't think it's fair to say that he's far right because of the busing thing. And the criminal reform bill wasn't really a partisan issue back then, right? I'm gonna eat some food here. Keep talking. I agree with that. Totally true. People have a propensity to be liberal and conservative, and sometimes you'll find people that are conservative, even though their personality doesn't fit it, and it's extremely obvious. Um, we found they were scared of us, and after a bit of back and forth about our hair, we found all be friends. Well, it all has to do with whether they think that things should change, or, and that's what it really comes down to. Conservatives have a different view of how change should be enacted. Conservatives think that there is some things are sacred. Okay, like the things enshrined in the Constitution are sacred. You don't touch those. Liberals don't see it that way. Liberals say, hey, if we want to get rid of guns, I don't care if it's the Second Amendment. which is what they're talking about, right? The movie Divergent. I think I've seen that. I don't remember what it's about though. Well, just remember with the desegregating the school thing, is you were talking about taking people and busing them, you know, quite a ways to the other side of the city. And you know, the black people that were going to be bused, they don't necessarily, there's disadvantages to that, you know, but I'm just saying there was a lot of people that are totally pro, you know, they want to get rid of segregation, but they were still against busing. Hmm. But you go back to that first debate, right, with Biden and Harris, where he justified. He said the people didn't want it. No, it is. Your misunderstanding of what a militia was. Militia was just regular everyday people that happened to know how to shoot a gun. It wasn't like, you go down and you join this militia and then you go through a year of training and then finally they'll let you have a gun and take it home. No, it was never like that. Everybody had a gun and they knew how to use it. And the founders, they said, hey, they should be allowed to continue to have the guns because when the time was net happened and we needed to form militias to fight the British, they had the skills and we were able to do it. That's what he's saying. And if they had been taken them away, because remember, the British tried to take the guns away. And the founding fathers said, no, that's never going to be allowed. Well, you can be part of an organized militia, but the whole point is that if we need to form a militia, we can. Right? The fact that you can own your own weapon allows militias to exist. See, if it was like an organized thing where you went and you learned, and you know what we call that? We call that the armed forces, right? A militia is not just the National Guard, okay? There's a very, very clear. I mean, there's a reason why the Supreme Court has interpreted it the way that it is. It was very clear. The founding fathers were very clear that the intention was that everybody should be able to own a gun if they want one. It's never going to change. I mean, honestly, you're going to have to kill people to get them. You really will. I really don't think that this is a. I don't understand why Democrats want to pick a fight on this sort of a thing. I really don't. You could sit down and you could write a specific bill for like. Sure, it is. The kinds of guns that they want to get rid of are absolutely are. They want to make it. Yeah, go and read what the founding fathers said about it. And even then, listen, the Supreme Court has ruled on this so many times. It is the most established precedent in the legal is that that the right to bear arms cannot be infringed. And in fact, they even say that things that would be common for self-defense can't be banned. So that's like you can't ban pistols. This law that they want to put out where you wouldn't be able to have a magazine that has, 10 rounds. They want it to just be like you can put one round in the gun. That's not going to hold up. It doesn't matter when. It doesn't matter. Think about it, okay? Take it from the other side of the perspective. It wouldn't matter if 50% of people in the United States were dying from gun crime. It wouldn't matter. It's in the Constitution. You can't get rid of it. There is no pile of bodies that the right isn't willing to bear to maintain the right to bear arms. Because it is in the Constitution, and what is in the Bill of Rights is sacred. That's the way the thinking goes. Not the Bill of Rights, though. Not the Bill of Rights. Well, the problem with the assault weapons ban was that the assault weapons ban existed when Democrats mostly had a majority in things, and I don't think that it was ever given a serious legal challenge until, it expired, as my recollection. But it was a dumb law. All the assault weapons ban did was ban weapons that looked scary. Those were the qualifications. The assault weapons ban is stupid. I think that if they made a law, if they reimposed a assault weapon ban, it would be it would be challenged in court, and it would get opposed in court and repealed by the Supreme Court within a year, in my opinion. This is where I'm saying, like, where I'm going is like when you look at Beto, okay? They're going extreme. He says that we should have a buyback problem and that we should confiscate guns from people. That is crazy. No joke. No, that's not true. So an assault, what they would consider an assault weapon was that they had certain kind of characteristics. For instance, if it was a shotgun with a pistol grip, then it was an assault weapon. Yeah, but hold on, guys. There are too many things at once. So one thing at a time. Okay, so first of all, when you talk about what's an assault weapon, so one of the things that would make something an assault weapon is like if it had a pistol grip and it was a shotgun, then that was considered an assault weapon. And so it had absolutely nothing to do with the function of the gun. It was all to do with the way that the gun looked. The whole point was to make that you couldn't have guns that looked cool, was essentially what the assault weapons ban was. So it was completely useless, and it was a stupid idea, and they were better off without it. So, first of all. But then the second thing on was that it's legal to regulate certain forms of firearms. Okay, well, the Supreme Court's ruling on this has been the standard is any weapon that is at common use in the armed forces. So it's like You can have a weapon, but you can't have an automatic weapon, but they can't ban you having a semi-automatic weapon. Those are the kinds of rulings that they have made, right? So some of those laws that they're talking about, particularly the ones that Beto is talking about, there is absolutely no way with the current makeup of the Supreme Court that it would withstand a legal challenge. No way. Wouldn't last. So, but not only that, but talking about confiscating them, like there's this guy, I think 6-9 months ago, it was a red flag law. His sister or something called up on him. I don't think that there was any actual reason to confiscate his gun, but they called the red flag on him, and the police came to take his gun, and he said, "No, I'm not giving it back," and they shot him, and he died. And these are the sorts of stories that you're going to hear. You're absolutely terrifying. If you want the right to turn out for an election, talk about taking away their guns, okay? Because they weren't kidding when Charleston Heston held his gun up and said, "From my cold, dead hands." No question. They believe it. They will take it to their graves if they have to. And they will absolutely show up to vote to go against it. Now, here's the thing. Almost everybody thinks that, hey, you should be able to have background checks. They're going to disagree on the specifics. That's why a background check never happens, because they always want to put things into the background check that would be unconstitutional. But that's something that has wide public support that you could push. But where does Beto go? He says, "Oh, we should just take them away." It's insane, right? There are things that the public supports. The public actually, according to my understanding, supports red flag laws, which I think is a really bad idea. But right, background checks, these sorts of things, those are things that as a politician you could push and you could make very, very effective. But the way that they go about it is really, really poor, right? You don't go in and say, you like play the sob story and things like that. You go in and you say, well, look, people have constitutional rights, but we are also allowed within the Supreme Court's interpretation of the law to regulate access to firearms in certain ways. And here are some ways that we should be doing that we don't, that everybody agrees with. And then you would get everybody on the left on your side, and you wouldn't be pissing off conservatives. But instead, they do it in the way that liberals are kind of, I don't know how energized liberals are about this thing, but I tell you what, there would be very, very high turnout in the election if the Democrat candidate pushes gun control hard. That's all I'm saying. I mean, that was the more important point, right? Red flag is not an automatic disarming, but a full legal process is fine. Yeah, I agree with you. Like if you have to go before a judge and then it can be taken away by a judge, then I think that that's okay. That's kind of a weird take for Biden to take there. Now, you say you realize that they won't push that once they're the nominee. I mean, I want to believe that you're right, but I kind of think that they really believe it in their hearts and that they're going to push it even if they think it's unpopular. I think that Beto would push it even if he knew it was unpopular in a general election. Biden wouldn't. Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders might. Like that's kind of the, I guess it depends on which one, but I think that some of them absolutely would say that in the general. Elizabeth Warren is not going to run to the center if she becomes the nominee, right? I think that a lot of people that live near me, I think that a lot of the conservative people that live around me are concerned that there's going to be a communist uprising and they've got a list and they're armed and prepared to defend themselves if the Bolsheviks ever come. They really do. No joke. I'm not saying that violence is okay or anything. That's just the attitude of people. I honestly thought that um, the Andrew Yang was about to say. I really thought he was about to say, "Come here because we'll give you $1,000 a month." That's what I thought that Andrew Yang was about to say on immigration. I was like, "Don't say that. That would be so dumb." It'll never be needed. This idea that, well, hold on. Hmm. No, it's not in. Listen, they'll still be able to make food. Here's the thing: you're going to have number one, because we're getting more efficient. There's going to be a point at which companies are going to say, "Hey, you don't need to work 40 hours a week." That's absolutely going to happen in our lifetime, I think. But it's not like people are gonna starve in the United States. It's just not likely. Our ability to create food in the United States is so tremendous. We don't have to work 40 hours a week for sure, right? So that's one thing that's gonna happen. But then the other thing is you got to realize that when things are so efficient because robots are making everything, that also means that everything is cheaper. Yeah, there's still going to be jobs. I mean, listen, if people are at home all day with nothing to do, what do you think they're going to do? They're not just going to sit and watch television. I hope that not. They're going to find ways to try and make money. It's just that the types of things that they're going to do to make money is going to be a little bit different. They're going to be designing and creating things and investing in stuff and creating entertainment. They have no choice to make them cheaper because people won't be able to afford them otherwise. Things get cheaper over time, and the efficiency may no, but people the efficiency things that just think about your house. Okay, when robots make your house, you'll be able to buy a house for $50,000 instead of $300,000. They will. They already are. I mean, come on. Look at the wage, all of the labor that's coming in from China and how cheap things are. I mean, your iPhone should be worth like twice what it is. If it wasn't for China, your iPhone would be worth twice what it is. Mm-mm. Is this their first break? I can't tell. I don't remember. I think that there was an earlier break. Um, uh, so this is, I think, how the I don't want to say the left, but many economists and many politicians present the way that the economy works to people in a way that's extremely deceptive. They go and they say, hey, look at these rich people. This Jeff Bezos guy, he's worth billions of dollars. He can afford to give some of his billions of dollars up so that we can have some of it. Okay? That's what they tell you. It's bullshit. It's not true. That's not how money works. Jeff Bezos does not have the ability to give you X billion dollars in cash today. He couldn't do it because it's all in stocks. 80% of this money that we're talking about is in stocks. And then the other 15% is in bonds. And what is bonds? It's the same thing. You're loaning people money to do stuff. So what does all of that money that Jeff Bezos has, what is it actually doing? Well, he might sell some of it so that he can buy a new house or consume something. But the majority of it is being used to fund Amazon's operations, to pay people, to make new facilities, and to grow their business. Okay? So, when they sit down and they say things like, well, the rich are just going to get richer and richer, and there's not going to be any money left for us because the jobs that we're doing aren't going to be worth anything. It's total nonsense, because when the rich get, quote unquote, richer and richer and richer, that just means that there's more money floating around in the market to invest. That just means that there is more opportunity for people to make discoveries, create new technologies, create new jobs. So this idea that all of our jobs are just going to go away and that the rich people are just going to hoard it all is absolutely ridiculous, and it's a complete misunderstanding of how economies work. I'm going to turn you back on. Here they're starting up again. Anyways, that's my rant. It's never going to turn into that. No, they're not. I thought that they were starting again, but really it's just the pundits who I don't want to hear. Yeah, well, you gotta understand the underlying economic theory that they have going into this. They don't think that. Yeah, the economic theory that they have is that they believe that the only thing that results in GDP is consumption when somebody buys something, and so investment doesn't count. Investment is just money that's sitting out there. They don't realize that investment is really just money that companies use to consume things. So all of that investment eventually ends in consumption. And if you have a lot of money out there, there's still a lot of money out there for consumption, but there's a difference. If I go out and I consume something, me, Seth Ellis, like I go and I buy a house, that's like dead money at that point because it's gone into the house and it goes to somebody else, right? But if you take that money and I go and I put it in the stock market and I put it to work, then that's money that can provide a return on investment, right? So what we really want to do is we want to get the money into the hands of people. Excuse me. We want to get the money into the hands of the people that are going to get a return on investment. They think that you just want to get consumption as high as possible. And the problem is that if you just try and get consumption as high as possible, you're not actually creating anything. You're just shifting one part of the consumption in the economy to a different part of consumption in the economy, one that doesn't provide as high of a return on investment. And that's why this never worked in communist countries, because communist countries, you could buy things and stuff like that. It wasn't like there wasn't money in Russia. There was money in Russia, right? But it never worked because they didn't grow, because they weren't giving the money to the people that could actually provide a return on investment. Yeah? Does that make sense? That's why it doesn't work. You're still going? I'm going to eat something. When Sasha about how Zoe is such a scam and they aren't building where they should or investing in areas that need development, it's just a tax break. You think so, huh? Explain that. That's one I've never heard before. Well, I would say I agree with that, but only because they're like almost paying no taxes right now, right? But my argument is kind of more this: the larger percentage of the economy that the government takes up, the slower your growth will be. That's my argument. So you don't want large government. You only want government as large as is necessary. Right, but if you tax somebody, remember, you're not creating money, right? You're redistributing money. This is all about allocation of capital. What you're doing is you're taking money from the people that are creating the largest return on investment, right? Jeff Bezos is the person on this planet that has created the largest return on investment, him and Bill Gates, right? If you want somebody out there to make a company and make money, well, that's not true. There's been a lot of problems with that in Portland. Yeah, I mean the thing is the tax burden in the United States is not correct. I don't think anybody thinks that, right? No, but when you look at how much money Amazon is, like how much Amazon has grown, that's why he is important compared to Bill Gates, because he's created a much larger empire. The growth percentage that they came out with was more. It's just that Bezos doesn't own as much of it, I believe. Um, but I'm just saying you're taking money from the people that create the largest return on investment, and you're going to give it to the people that provide the lowest return on investment. You're going to get lower growth that way. You'll get short-term impacts as you are redistributing money into the economy. There's going to be an infusion of cash into that part of the economy, but the longer run GDP growth number, that's the thing that goes down over time. That's part of why we don't have as high of a growth rate as we used to. Sure. But high velocity of money isn't having too high of a velocity really reduces the value of your currency, right? Which is maybe good and maybe bad. Depends on now you're getting into super complicated stuff that is probably beyond our ability to really knowledgeably talk about without some formulas and stuff. Well, so when I think about velocity of money, I'm talking about how often does one particular dollar shift hands? Yeah, probably not. The problem with the basic universal income is that it would create inflation. I tell you what, is I'm looking right. Well, even if you weren't diluting the money supply, the problem is that again, you're taking money from one part of the economy to another part of the economy, and if you infuse cash into that part of the economy, prices go up. Just like when the Federal Reserve infused money into the bond market, prices went up, right? If you do basic universal income, first thing that's going to happen is rent's going to increase. So who would you give it to? Well, let's not say that nothing needs to change, but we don't need to go over to communism. You know, some of the changes that people are proposing are pretty extreme, and some of them are just flat out bad ideas. A lot of the things that Elizabeth Warren is proposing are just flat out bad ideas. You're just going to completely kill your stock market. I know that it's like the common thing to say that, if politician X gets elected, the stock market's going to go down. But probably if she got elected, I don't think that the markets would be affected instantly. But the instant that any of her policies stand any chance of being actually adopted, the stock market would go down. Well, some of the things that they're proposing are communism. That would be nice. I didn't like the way the liquidity disappeared today in the ES, and part of it was that it was the rollover, but that was ugly. Well, you're talking about in practice versus. I mean, here's the thing. The reason why I call it the reason why I call it communism, okay, is that the way that they say it in communism is the people should own the means of production, which means that if you work at a steel factory, you should have ownership in that steel factory. Well, what's the practical way that you do that? All of the workers get together and they vote on some politician, and he becomes the minister of iron factory workers or whatever the thing is, and he becomes a part. And so it really is the government is really in charge and decides where the money goes, right? Because if the workers own the means of production, you don't have a stock market in Russia, right? The Russian government decides who gets money and who doesn't. And that's the thing that I abhor, is that you can't sit down and give one group of people or a government that kind of power. It has to be distributed as evenly as possible. Now, there is an issue that we have in our country, well, in capitalism today, where stocks don't work the way that they're supposed to. They're supposed to be public companies, which means that everybody should own a part of that public company. But it doesn't work that way anymore because we all buy index funds. You're supposed to be able to go to the shareholders meeting and voice your opinion, and it doesn't happen. So the answer here is not to give the government more power to control where the money goes. The answer here is to get more people involved in markets and to empower them to have as much of an influence on the markets as they can, and to be able to collectively overpower the people that are rich and at the top. That's what you've got to do. But they don't want to talk about that because that would be hard. See, that would involve people actually having to put their own money at risk. That would involve people having to understand investing. That would involve people having to go to their shareholder meeting, understand what the proposals are, and vote accordingly so that they get the best return on their money. And nobody wants to do that. And certainly a politician is not going to get elected by saying that that's what we need to do for our future. So what did they do instead? They say, hey, I'll give you free stuff. And that's how it works. That's the problem, in my opinion. Mixed economy. Man, Bernie Sanders just really does not sound good today. He sounds so hoarse. Are talking about China. What we need is communism. Yeah, but that's why we have public companies, right? Because what's best for the business, what's best for the business is supposed to be best for the people because the people own the business through their stocks, but they don't anymore because of index funds, right? I think it's kind of funny here. They're talking about China and they're like, well, we need to fix, what Donald Trump is doing with China is bad. And to get a deal, we need to get labor and environmentalists involved. Oh, yeah. Get the environmentalists involved. That will surely make a deal more likely with China, right? He's right. That's interesting. So the interesting thing on this subject is that a lot of the Democrats are saying the right thing. Oh no, yeah, no, don't yeah. A lot of them are saying the right thing about trade on China, but they're like, well, Donald Trump is doing it the wrong way. And I'm like, well, yeah, but if you were in charge, China would just still be ripping us off and nothing would happen. Isn't it? It's got a good point. But Merkel and Macron don't want to take on China. Good grief. They're not they can't even take on Russia. They keep buying their oil. I don't know. I don't really see a win-win situation with China. I feel like that China just has different values that are incompatible with democracy and free markets. I believe that China has values that are incompatible with free markets and democracy, and that the only choice is to decouple from them over time. And yeah, that means some pain in the short term, but freedom in the long term. And I don't think that any amount of smart guys in power or allies or anything is going to change them. Hmm. Oh, I just realized that you probably can't even hear yourselves reading out. Well, I wouldn't say it's pain long term. It's going to be lower GDP in long term, but the pain is just going to be the decoupling. Yeah. Wow. But we let them do it. Well, I'll tell you what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to stop growing soybeans. They're going to have to start growing food that people want to buy. So what? Look, I understand that people will experience pain from decoupling from China. But here's the thing. Okay, we haven't completely destroyed the farming industry, but I would be willing to destroy the farming industry and rebuild it if it means that we're able to be free from Chinese dictatorship in the future. Okay? Like there's a bit larger things at stake than just the economy, guys. Miraculously, 3 China anticipated this a few years ago and moved their supply chain to other countries. Huawei did this. They also established very good trading partners. Yeah, that's true. But they've certainly been hurt from this too, though. Don't make no mistake. I mean, go look at their stock market. It's been painful for them. And if we are to believe defectors, they say that things are much harder over there than we know. Of course, you would want to destroy it because you don't make your money off farming. Well, look, I make my money off of healthcare. I would be completely willing to destroy and rebuild healthcare if it meant that my children don't have to live under the rule of communist China. Okay? Freedom. Freedom is more important than prosperity. Okay? We would like to have all of those things, but you can't have prosperity without freedom. And people are telling me that I should give up my freedom for prosperity. That's nonsense. It doesn't work that way. And then people are telling me you should just sit and take it and let China take over the world and then we can all just live. No. No, you can't let China become the preeminent world power and spread their oppression across the world. Okay? This is a genocidal regime over there, guys. That guy has millions of people in concentration camps for the mere reason of their ethnic group and religion. Right? That's the people that we're dealing with. You think, sit down, okay? If you lived back in Nazi Germany and you say, well, I worked with the Nazis and I gave them industry because that was what was necessary to make a living and we didn't want to hurt the economy. You think that anybody sits back and looks at that guy and says, oh yeah, okay, yeah, it was cool. It's okay that you were conspiring with a genocidal maniac. No. You do what's right. You do what's right. We should start a smart fight with China, but we shouldn't destroy our country in the process. Well, but like I said, I'm not so sure that there's a way to take on China that doesn't involve pain. This is just the nature of it, because their values are incompatible with democracy and free markets. That is too hopeful. I'm just saying, think about the trade deal that we're talking about here. The United States government says, don't steal from us. And China says, that's not a workable starting negotiation point. Why is that not a workable starting negotiation point? Because China doesn't believe in intellectual property rights. They're communists. No one here is saying we want communism. We're simply arguing that the world is moving forward and this administration wants us to stay and still only buy from ourselves. Well, no, he's not saying that we'll still only buy from ourselves. He's just saying that China has to play fair or we're not going to trade with them. And, well, I suppose that he wants to pressure Europe, but of course, he's not much he can do. If China was already fixed, then you would bet he would be pressuring Europe right now, right? You're mixing IP issues, 301 tariffs with everything else at play. Well, but one of the problems is that China abuses intellectual property rights and steals. They allow intellectual property abuse, and they have forced company transfers, and those two things are supposedly not feasible negotiation points. China is 4 times our size, so look, I mean, the United States is large enough to be self-sufficient if it has to be. Obviously, would not be as prosperous as if the entire world was involved in free trade. Okay? But just because you can make more money doesn't mean that you should put up with injustices and give away your freedom. Huh? Haven't you ever heard this thing, give me liberty or give me death? I would rather die a free man than live a slave? Why is everybody telling me that we should live as slaves to China? We would be poor as fuck if we didn't trade with the world. That's not true. There would be a lot of short-term pain, though, yeah. There would be a generation of economic devastation, and then we would recover and we would build our own economy, because the United States has everything that you need for a modern economy within our own borders. We aren't slaves to China. Okay, but you got to understand, what is China doing with this influence that they have, right? They're expanding in the North China Sea. They're controlling Hong Kong. They're saying that they're going to take back Taiwan, although I don't know if that's ever going to happen. But that's the sort of thing that they're saying. And hey, you know what? If China was the preeminent economy in the world and the largest military in the world, they would absolutely go and take it over. No question about it. If they had any reason to, if they thought that they could get away with it. The only reason they don't is because the largest military in the world is the United States. Okay? So why should we continue to help them? This is like saying that we lived during World War II, and okay, we're not the ones that are at war with Germany. Germany is fighting France and Great Britain. And we're over here in Poland, or we're Russia or something like that, and saying, oh yeah, let's do some business and deal with these Nazis. That's never going to come back and bite us in the butt. And that's how I see it. If we don't have an economic relationship with China, we would have a war with them, real war. Maybe that would be a good thing. But I tend to think that you would never have a real war between two major powers again. I don't think we ever will. Continue our relationship with them, but with incremental wins. What kind of incremental wins?
I'm just listen. Yeah, I mean, there's an argument to be made that there could be different strategies to handle this situation, right? But my point is twofold. One, it's a problem that has to be dealt with in one way or another. And two, if it was necessary, that we should do whatever is necessary because freedom is more important. Bitcoin will set us free. Yeah. I tell you what, they're not. Yeah. The thing with Bitcoin is it's never going to be the world currency. It isn't needed. It isn't. I am not that far from World War II. Hmm. Bernie Sanders says we shouldn't spend $750 million a year on the military when we don't know who our enemy is. But if he was president, he would have a very clear idea of who our enemy is and what the risks are. Why did you find Donald J. Trump an attractive candidate, and why do you support your policies? Because he was the Republican. What? I can sit down and I can watch a race and I can know when somebody's going to win. And it was very clear pretty early on that none of these guys could lay a finger on him. You know, probably about the time that he got to New Hampshire, I said he's probably going to win. By the time he got to South Carolina, I said he's absolutely going to win, and anybody that doesn't believe it right now is just in denial. And he was a Republican, so that's why we started supporting him. And we supported him because he was not he was not Hillary Clinton. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I mean, look, if Jamie Dimon was running for the Democrat nomination and he was coming out here and saying, "Hey, let's not implement communism, but there are some things that we can change," I would maybe consider voting for him. And he's a Democrat that I think would maybe do an okay job. Um, right? But that's not the situation. And you kind of just have to vote the cards that you are dealt. I was a Republican, but I vote for the candidate. I voted for Bill Clinton and casted my first vote for a Democrat and did not tell my mother. The Republicans ran the weakest field I've ever seen, right? And the thing that was so funny is that people were saying that it was such a strong Republican field, and I was like, oh, no. No. I was surprised that Rubio fizzled out as quickly as he did. Um, but the rest of them, yeah, I was kind of like I thought there was a weak field, like Jeb Bush. Oh, it was I was just abhorred. I was horrified. That's the word I'm looking for. I was horrified that Jeb Bush was leading the primary at some point. I was like, this guy could not win dog catcher. He would have lost to Hillary, I think, if Jeb ran against Hillary. Even with all of the things that happened, I think that he would have lost. Only Donald Trump could have pulled that off. Is Jamie Dimon a Democrat? I'm pretty sure that he is. In fact, I think there's even been discussion about him running as a Democrat, but he didn't seem that interested. I tell you, you got to remember, okay? Um, like something like Democrats just needed to run any centrist and they would have beat Trump this election. Maybe if they actually had a centrist, who would be a centrist that could beat him? The problem is that there's just not really centrists anymore. Not centrists that anybody likes, at least. The centrists always get the ire from their own party, you know? Dems and banks are closer than the Republicans. Yeah, I mean, all those people in New York are Democrats. You know, this guy, he was what? He was governor of New York or New Jersey or whatever, Jerome Corsi. And he was CEO of Goldman Sachs for a very, very long time. When he was CEO of Goldman Sachs, one of the proposals that he made was that the bonus that year should be distributed equally amongst all employees, which would have resulted in windfalls of hundreds of thousands of dollars for you know, very blue collar type workers. And of course, the board did not like that idea. Youth has pushed the Dems left, sure. Well, I think that the internet has pushed the Dems left. The the youth in the Democrat Party are extremely plugged in and are very easily influenced by social media. And the far left activists have, since the beginning, had a very, very strong online presence. And that's a large part of it. Hillary was simply unlikable. I knew men who flew with her on Air Force One and they thought she was rude and short with them. I think she saw them as a support staff and a woman needs to be nice to the staff. Oh, yeah. The media makes it look like the DNC is more left than it really is. I don't see that because I just look at what they say. I mean, I always prefer to see the candidates speak for themselves. Look at this debate, man. Tell me these people aren't left. They have some good ideas. It's not like every idea is bad, but they can't help. They throw the red meat out there. I don't even know if they actually believe it themselves. Look at how they vote. Well, you can't look at how they vote because none of their proposals actually ever, they don't vote on anything these days. You know what I mean? Man, Congress doesn't do anything anymore, man. Media makes it seem like the right is perhaps more racist moderates, but social media gets all worked about the extreme. Well, that's for sure. I mean, I think the thing is, there's only one real progressive on that stage. Bernie. Do you think that that's Bernie? I'm guessing by you saying that you mean Bernie. Are you for term limits? Sure, but I don't think that the term limits should be as short as some people are proposing. Like, I think that if you're a senator, that you should be allowed to serve for like 16 years. Yep, Bernie, sorry, yeah. See, there's this thing, a lot of other progressives, there's a lot of Democrats I know that would really fight you on that because they think that Elizabeth Warren is the real deal. But the Bernie Sanders supporters don't trust her at all. And they're much more loyal to Bernie than Elizabeth Warren fans are loyal to Elizabeth Warren. Now they're talking climate change. Hey, we've gotten through two hours of this, and I honestly haven't paid super close attention to the things that they've said, but a lot of it is that some of their specifics of their policies don't really matter too much to me, right? I'm more interested in the things that would actually affect the race. So key moments and their body language and their interactions. And I feel like that they showed most of that at the beginning. Hardcore progressives don't think Warren is a real progressive, right? Well, she's been too involved in corporate America that she's going to have some opinions that are, hey, if you've been in business and you know how it works, you know what is necessary in order for businesses to continue to work. And people that are super progressive generally don't understand those things. And so when they hear that, progressives are not very trusting in Warren, but they'd vote for her over Biden. For sure. I think that they're voting for her because they think that she stands the best chance right now. I don't know if that's true. I want someone who's willing to dig in to understand all the sides who will be affected by the plans. Yeah. I would always say, like, one of the things that I would pay attention to for these candidates is how do they talk about dealing with people, right? Because the person that comes out and says, I know everything and I know exactly what needs to happen and this is what I should do day 1 and day 2 and day 3. So like Amy Klobuchar, she's saying all of these things. She's not going to do half that shit if she got elected. We all know. I mean, it never happens that way, right? So they'll do maybe 1 or 2 of those things, right? But it all comes down to that you have a person that is going to pick policy advisors, and those guys are probably going to have a bigger impact on what actually happens than anything else, right? So, are they actually good are they actually good executive? That's what you kind of got to look for. That's why I say that I like Tulsi. Look at the way that she talks about things. When they bring up negatives of her, she takes responsibility. She shows that she has the ability to look at things from multiple angles and take input from different people and make the right decision. Something that I like about Donald Trump is that he's not afraid to fire people. That's an important thing that politicians need, that they don't like to do because it looks bad, but he has no reservations about, and it's been good. It would be nice if the people that he picked were better, more suited for the job in the first place. But when they're doing a bad job, he got fired. I like that. You know? Tulsi is my favorite. What's up with the conspiracy theories around Tulsi? I hear people on the far left say she is a Russian plant. No. Well, she is not. They hire all the wrong people in the first place. That White House has been a revolving door. Oh, I think that almost everybody that he's hired onto his economic team has been good. People that knew what they were doing and have done a good job. Of course, they make mistakes, and of course he's fired people, but I still think he has an amazing economic team, and that the strength of the economy has a large part to do with having such a good economic team. And that's the one thing that was like his area of expertise. You notice the place where they've had the most problems there. He doesn't know anything about foreign policy, right? And kind of the problem over there is that there's a lot of politics in foreign policy. And the things that work for business don't work for managing foreign policy, unfortunately. That's where Tulsi would probably be a really strong president in that regard. I think Dragon coming into a bull market helped Trump. Well, I mean, if it was just that, then the growth trajectory would have followed the same trajectory that it was under Obama. What was holding us back under Obama? It was Obama's policies. They got rid of those in like the first month, and all of a sudden it was like game on. And the tax cut. The tax cut helped too. Yeah. Sugar high. Yeah, but could be. You got to remember, with the tax cut, remember you're talking about an reallocation of capital, right? But it's the other direction. They're saying we're going to allocate less capital to government, and we're going to allocate more capital to people that invest. In this case, letting them keep the capital that they had instead of taking it away. But that's what it is it's a reallocation of capital, which means, yes, it goes straight into the stock market, and it is kind of like a sugar high, but it's a sugar high that results in more investment. And so, with a bit of luck, over a long short period of time, like 10 years, those investments turn into real innovations and increase the market. And so you might not see it right away, but that helps our long-term GDP growth. If you used Trump solutions in 2008, we would still be in the doghouse. I don't agree with that at all. I'd say this is a former Ron Paul fan who believes they're BS ideas at the time. Obama, he guided us into a period of growth. Trump shouldn't get all the credit or all the blame, but ... No, I think that if Donald Trump was the guy, I don't think that they would have had to have eased as much. In fact, they might not have needed to ease at all. I also think that they would have started raising interest rates earlier. And part of the reason that interest rates are kind of an interesting thing. It's like, if I can draw a picture. This is something that I've learned kind of watching this, and this is, I suppose, my own economic theory, but I'll turn Andrew up here a little bit. So here is a chart. And this is the rate. And this is economy. Okay. I'm going to say this right here is 0. Okay. So what is the effect of the interest rates on the economy? Well, most of us think that it's something like this. That's the way that people act like it is. They say that if the interest rates get too high, and this is like something like 10% or something, then it has a severely negative impact on the economy, right? This is bad for the economy, and this is good for the economy. And then, well, so let's not even say that it's like that. Let's say that it's like, okay, so this is neutral. Okay. Something like that. So they say you lower interest rates, the lower they are, the stronger of a stimulative impact it has on the economy. Right? That's what we're told, right? I don't think that that's true. I think that when interest rates get low enough, banks stop having an incentive to work. And so I think that it's kind of something like this. I think that here's neutral. And then there's kind of this sweet spot where it helps. Right? And then there's a certain spot at which these negative interest rates will be super, super bad. But when they get too low, it has a negative impact. So what happened was the Federal Reserve was so dovish for so long that we never got into this period. We didn't get there until we were with Donald Trump. And then you added on top of that the taxes and all of the deregulation. And that's why you had such a strong stock market increase. That's how I see it happen. Anyways. Seth's economic theory, according to Seth. Oh, let's check this chart, refresh it, and see if there's been any changes. Warren seems to be improving again. Oh, actually, she's going down a little bit. Biden's going down a little bit. So who's going up? Probably. Oh, okay, not Yang. Harris a little bit. Buttigieg a little bit. They must be picking up some from some lower tier candidates. I think what they mean is if long-term interest rates are lower than the short-term, it's bad as in delta, not just low or high. Yes. Well, when you get an inverted yield curve, the theory is that banks don't want to lend anymore, right? But it's not just if it's inverted. It's the lower that the interest rate is, the less money they can make. Like that's the thing is like, okay, interest rates at like 1 or 2, that's a good reason to lend. When it's at 0, it's like, honestly, think back at that time. Like, did it really cause a huge like increase in lending? Like they had a really hard time getting them to lend. It was because the they had to reduce rates too low. They did the right thing still, but that was the negative side effect of them being so low. That's why they had to do quantitative easing in addition to it to finally get through all of those economic turmoils that followed in the years after. Hmm. Guess what? Oh my gosh, Bernie. Thank you, Bernie. That one's an interesting one because I think he's right based on some metrics, but the poverty rate in the United States is the lowest it's almost ever been. There's not just making less money, their cost in short term is also higher than their income. Well, so remember what a inverted yield curve means, right? Okay. Right now, you got 2, 5, 10, 30. Normal yield curve looks something like this. Okay. Current yield curve looks something like this. Okay. So what do banks do? They take out a 30-year loan and they give loans to other people that are 2-year loans. So the interest rate on this 2-year is less than on this 30-year, and so they make money on this spread, right? But when it's not like that, they're not making any money on it. Okay, sure. But this line right here. This line is like the 2008 crisis. Okay. Let's draw another one. Here's what it really looks like today. Right. We're like way down here. And before that, we were kind of like this. We were kind of like this, you know? So, like, is the difference between this and this very much in terms of how much the bank can make? Like the spread is less and the overall interest rate is less too. And so they have no way of making money. Like the banks are talking about, well, they're going to have to make money off of fees. Like that was what JP Morgan was saying. They're preparing themselves for it. So having a low interest rate is not necessarily good for banks. But it's okay because they know that the spread is going to go up soon and all of this sort of stuff, right? And that's where we run into a really prickly issue with today is it's inverted and it could be inverted for a long time or be really flat for a long time. And if it's like that for a year, then you're likely to have a recession. And then maybe they lower interest rates and it can go back to a normal healthy curve. He sure seems like he's got fire. I think he's doing a good job of being like, I'm the person that knows what's going on. I'm sure that a lot of anti-Biden fans, though, are really unhappy with his shtick. Times are good, but I still think this economy is suspect. Well, there's some real problems with it because of the yield, right? If the long term is lower than the short term, then the cost of the short term is higher than what they make on the long term. Exactly. Biden took his Adderall. Could be. Yep. But the problem is with that, Rackley, is that it's an unproven theory. We've never had this situation before. The central banks have of course said that, hey, maybe it's the fact that it's inverted causes the banks to stop lending, and that's what causes the recession. But other people think that the yield curve is just a really good prediction because they think that the yields are that this Federal Reserve is going to have to change, and that's all it means, right? And then there's another group of people that say, well, normally that is what it is. It's a prediction. Excuse me, it's a prediction. But because yields were so low anyways, it didn't take very much for them to invert. And so that's not really that strong of a signal. So it could just mean absolutely nothing. In fact, I would say that's probably the consensus opinion among economists, is that it's not a very good signal this time. I prefer dextromethorphan for my ADHD over Adderall. I've never heard of that. Is there a more common name for that one? The healthy fats. Well, I take fish oil twice a day. And I usually have some olive oil with my breakfast. And I've been eating walnuts, although I'm wondering if the walnuts is causing a problem with me, because I feel like when I eat walnuts that day that I feel tightness and inflammation in my throat. They have covered a pretty wide array of issues. I think that ABC has done a much better job with this debate than the other two news outlets did, haven't they? Adderall has both DAMP and LAMP. Regular plain DAMP doesn't have many brand names. It's off patent. Okay. But isn't the LAMP the ones that kind of get the dopamine? I don't know. That's the thing that I feel like that I can't get without the Adderall. What I meant is, you take a 10-year loan at 1%, you park that money in the account that pays 2%. Banks bleed money. Yes. Yes. It's like after much research. That's interesting. I mean, I have more of a problem with the noradrenaline. Oh man, they're doing the break. So I think that I'm going to take a break here for a minute. We got another 40 minutes, so we're doing okay. I'll be right back. Juliet Farah is her elf, and she honks, donks, laughs, and scolds, and she makes her hee hee sound when she gets a duck heart. That's funny. I'm wondering, yeah, this market right here. Is anything changed on this market? Nope. They're saying like it's not gonna happen. They got through the climate change thing and nobody said anything about Sharpies. I'm really disappointed, but I'm holding out hope. I make $5 if they say anything about Sharpies. I thought it was a good bet. There's still a chance. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah. Oh yeah, watch Biden mistakenly refers to Bernie Sanders as the president. I caught that. That's funny that they're catching that out. Seems like some people really don't like Biden. Yang announces universal basic income pilot program. Oh, I didn't quite catch that part. That was when I was really, really ranting, huh? Because I remember he was talking and I was like, oh, and then I went off. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm. Biden is complaining Iraq and Afghanistan. This is why I don't read the Twitter. Here's the thing. He's probably going to say a lot of things that the, what do we call them again? The Politerati or whatever. That all of the political pundits are going to be like, well, he said this and this was incorrect and he did this and nobody likes Joe Biden. But I thought just from watching him that he acquitted himself much better than the last debate. And I think that some of those older people that were really behind him before might come back to him. They might say, oh, he was just having a bad month. But I could be wrong. I mean, I really thought that it was a likely thing that somebody was going to talk about. That somebody was going to talk about Sharpies, and it hasn't happened yet. That's a good question he's asking here. Hmm. Oh, these freaking. I'm surprised also, but fingers crossed you win the fiver. I just thought been disruptions in every debate, hasn't there? Especially when Joe is talking. Treasuries are clicking. PM, I have my playlist on my channel with information that I find interesting, and ADHD research is on several of my playlists. Well, yeah, I think you already sent me those ones, but I had already watched all of Dr. Barkley's stuff. Shouting from the audience during debates is only effective if you can actually understand what the shouters are saying. Ah. Okay. That was a good answer. I didn't quite hit all of the points that I would want to be seeing. Okay, well, oh, she wanted to be a public school teacher from second grade, huh? And go back and watch it again. Well, the thing is, he, she was visibly pregnant. The thing is you don't need to hear every tiny little policy thing. Not the first watch through, because those aren't the things that are the most effective. Is that they're not saying the thing that I want to hear. So that's great that you have perseverance, but what are the attributes that you have that are going to allow you to have successes when you're opposed? Bunting NG. I wonder how my voice synthesizer would say that. I'm drunk and I don't understand any of this. Hey, that's fine. You don't have to understand what they're saying. Just look at them. Look at the way that Bernie Sanders does. See, so I don't like his answer because he looks old. He's saying that he's willing to sit and bang his head against a brick wall as long as it takes to break the brick wall down. That's what Bernie Sanders is saying right now. 3-minute clips on YouTube point out the pertinent parts of the date. Crooked media is I listen to next, and then I will look at our overseas channels. Yeah, see, I want to see the impressions that I get from the candidates' social energy, from their interaction with each other. Right, that's the first thing that I want to catch, and the media will always try and distort your perception. You can intuitively see it, even if you're not paying attention to what they're saying. Your name sounds like an Asian name, like Vietnamese. No, I think it's supposed to be a joke, but I don't get the joke. It's supposed to be like badum bum ching. You know, if every answer that she gave was as genuine as that, she would have this in the bag. None of the crocodile tears. That was not a pre-planned question. She did a good job. You can call me Nina for ease. Okay, Nina. No. See, this is. So his. You see, his answer wasn't just "I will persevere." His answer was, "Here's how I form trust with people. Here's why I can get together with people that disagree with me. Here's why I will be a leader that will make good and moral decisions." That's the kind of answer that you want. He knocked it out of the park. Then she goes on about the radio voice. I don't think that my voice sounds that great, though. Maybe there's just something. I've been doing this for like 2 years now. Maybe there's just something about practicing it. You get better at talking or something. I don't know. So he gave a good story there, but he took the question and he distorted it into his campaign message instead of answering the question about what is his character that's going to help him be a good leader. Ooh. Oh man. Is weed illegal in your country? Well, it's illegal in my state. I don't. We don't even have. Well, we kind of have medical marijuana now, I guess. That won this past year. Almost forgot about that. Oh, that's very nice. In Germany, you can illegally buy. Is that where you live in Germany? But you can buy marijuana just about anywhere illegally. Well, he tried, and I thought that he had an okay delivery there and everything, but I don't think that he really made me confident in his abilities as a leader. In large part, probably the president of the United States. Donald Trump directed this terrorist attack. You serious, Beto? Get out of here. Get out of here. I grow it myself, which is also kind of illegal. Well, we won't tell anyone, all right? But don't smoke weed when you're trading. I was hearing these people saying they smoke weed when they trade, and I'm like, that sounds extremely irresponsible. Good, good. Oh, man. You don't need trading? What's the matter? You don't want to lose millions of dollars on the stock market? Why wouldn't anybody want to lose thousands of dollars on the stock market? Shouldn't say a million. Probably none of us are going to be losing millions of dollars on this one. If you like live streams, check out host Eric. He's talking with. Oh, there, yeah, yeah. That's you were mentioning them before. That was a terrible answer. That had literally nothing to do with the question, and he said a bunch of things that were incorrect. Well, I could potentially lose a million if I would trade it. Yeah. Hey, look, you could invest in marijuana stocks. You know a lot about that. Then you can investigate the companies and determine which companies have the best business models that would work best with the customer base, which you would understand better. And you should be able to pick the best marijuana stocks. And then when marijuana becomes more legalized around the world, you're going to make a lot of money. I invested in alcohol was a bad decision. I don't know. It sounds like you're having fun. It brought you to my stream, which 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 is usually a pretty good decision. Usually, unless I convince you to start trading futures and lose $1,000. Wow. You're worried about your car. What's wrong with your car? Does it smell like marijuana? $100,000 is a lot. It's a lot. Hey, it's a lot for me. $1,000 is a lot for me. I lost um last year. I lost $500 essentially. It was actually the total loss was more than 1,000, but I had made some and then lost some. And then this year I made 500, and then I lost the 500 that I made, and I'm back to the drawing board. But I'm doing well now, and I'm not so sure if I'm willing to put risk on the table quite yet. But feeling pretty good about it. There's certain things that I've been doing lately that can, like the stuff that I did today, but so I made like 380 today on Sim, but I wouldn't be able to do that with real money. Today was a little bit of a crazy day that I probably should have sat out with on real money. But that wouldn't make a fun stream. What a terrible color on Amy. Why would she go with a limber Linda Clipper Exorcist P soup green and washes her out on screen and makes her look like she's wearing her mother's real tails? Why is there only one line moving? Are you talking about the tweet deck? So I have this column set up to show all of the tweets about the debate, and there's no filters on it, so it's just constantly scrolling. This one, you'll notice it'll change every once in a while, but in order for one to show up here, that has to have at least 10 likes. The rest of these are stuff particular to markets, and it's nighttime, so nobody's really talking about the market right now. Ari Fletcher's trying to give he says, Might's debate won't change anything. Biden did the best. He showed he has some fight in him. He needs to show that. Bernie looked old. Warren did fine. She'll pass Bernie soon. None of the other candidates stood out. It's time for bed. I hope my record player is working. I think he has the main points, yeah. I think that he has too much eyeliner on. Except Jimmy, he like yo anyone up to trade. Invest in Bitcoins, they said. No. So if you check, I have a link in the video description for my Patreon where I post cryptocurrency charts, and my recommendation right now is to not invest in cryptocurrencies. I said, no, I want to have my money in me and don't want to lose it. Oh, you could have invested in McDonald's. Okay, so they ended a little early. Well, oh, everybody needs to come over and shake Joe's hand. Notice how he's the center of attention. Yeah, Bernie. Yeah, I do remember the Castro thing, and I do remember thinking that Castro was maybe that I would remember thinking at the time. I don't know what they're saying exactly, so I can't say who has the point. But I did feel like Castro was being a little antagonistic there. Anyone who lives with their means suffers from a lack of imagination. No. Hey, listen. You live within your means because you have imagination. Because you know that if you live within your means today, that you will be able to do things tomorrow that other people can't do. And you have the motivation to do that because you have that imagination. You know what you want. Some of us, it's just to make, some of us just like making money. I think that's kind of more me. I feel like I have most of the things in my life that I want and care about. Now that my wife is pregnant, that was like the one last thing on the bucket list. Now all I want to do is make money. Make money as I think I'm on this earth to make as much money as I can and put it back into the economy where it can do the most good for other people. And I have tried to have some sleep. Yeah, it's about time for me to sign off too. So thank you for joining us. Hopefully I see you again later. Humans do have a knack of choosing precisely those things that are the worst for them. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of J.K. Rowling. I don't think that she's all that bright. How old is the old people? Go drink some water, you old ninja drinker. Yeah. So I feel like that I'm still not seeing the battle that needs to happen. Um, it's just, well, how can I say it? It's like Democrats don't want to hurt the other Democrats. They hate that. They're all about being nice and everything. But at some point, if you want to win, you're going to have to take on the other person and you're going to have to convince people. It's a zero sum game. You have to convince people that you're a better candidate than they are. And one of the ways that you do that is by taking them on head on and on a particular issue and coming out on top. Castro tried today. It sounds like that it didn't go over too well. Pete, I feel like is just still just kind of shoring himself up. I felt like Kamala would have had the opportunity to go, but she didn't. You've got to narrow this field down, and because if you don't, then it's just going to be Warren, and that probably wouldn't be very good for the party. You've missed speculators. Kiss and tell the birds they need to talk better so they can hang out with us. That would be way too distracting, but. Nicholas F. Fuentes, was easily the worst debate so far. I thought that ABC did a much better job with the debate than the last ones. People had enough time. I think they covered all of the main issues. One really big criticism that I have of this debate, though, is that they didn't really tread very much new ground, did they? ABC ran this video. I want to see this. No. Did they really run that? Ah! Oh, I remember that lady. Well, that's awesome if they ran that. But I'm shocked. No LGBT or repro questions, this guy says. Mark Panato. Biden is still old. Bernie's still crazy. Lizzie's still phony Indian. Corey's still Spartacus. Beto's still childish. Oh, I definitely agree with the Beto one. Julian's still arrogant. Well, okay. Yang is wacky. Clocobar still irrelevant. Booty Judge is still gay. And Kamala is still a slut. Oh my gosh. Oh. But do you notice that they put Booty Judge and Kamala at the bottom and that they don't actually have, well, he's gay. That's supposedly an immutable attribute. And Kamala is a slut. That's kind of also an immutable attribute, isn't it? So I'm told. I could be wrong about that. But anyways, that one was a little bit. Well, Kamala also, the Lizzie is a phony Indian thing. Anyways, it's interesting that those two are at the bottom, the two that I felt like have the most upside potential right now. ABC journalists asked significant revealing questions tonight with almost no preening. Bravo. Well, yeah, I really liked that last question. Michael Narisco, this debate was very disappointing. I feel like nothing of significance was said. Andrew Yang was smart to come out with a bang in his opening statement. It's going to be what people are talking about. Everything else in between was just noise. Okay, so I didn't pay enough attention. What did he say? He will use funds raised from his supporters for a pilot program meant to resemble his universal basic income proposal. Oh, this is going to be a fucking disaster. I shouldn't swear. This is going to be a complete disaster. Under the Freedom Dividend program, at least 10 American families... 10? 10? Oh, yes. I tell you what, folks. I'm really excited to donate to Andrew Yang so that 10 other people can get $12,000 this year. Ugh. Ugh. Who's going to do that? You are. If you contribute to that, you're dumb. I think you're dumb. They're going to they might have a hard time getting that money. Let's see what they pull out. When you donate money to a presidential campaign, what happens? The politician spends the money on TV ads. It's time to trust ourselves more than politicians. That's why I'm going to do something unprecedented. I'm going to give somebody $1,000 a month. 10 families. 10 American families. That is not. In the GOP, you can fight each other. You're not going to get kicked out of the club if you lose. With the DNC, they will fight you every election forward if you would do that. Yeah, like with what they did to Tulsi. She should have been in this debate. She took down Kamala hardcore. She could take down Elizabeth Warren, probably, too. They're going to put that young girl in very real danger if they don't let up on her. She is a very young person with ideals, regardless of who everyone thinks she should be portrayed as. We should not. You talking about Kamala Harris? We're talking about calling Kamala Harris a slut? Yeah, well, I don't feel very good about calling politicians sluts, but she did kind of do some things of a sexual nature to get power that she shouldn't have done. Let's say that. Frightened away new ideas or new people who want to serve and help the government. She is being scapegoated for social media purposes, and it's not a good thing. Oh, you're talking about AOC. No, okay, yes. I don't think she's being scapegoated for social media purposes at all. I think that it's entirely a situation of her own making. She puts herself out there in a way that attracts negative attention. This is the whole social media strategy. So remember that that video that I made that was, Andrew Yang had a terrible debate performance. He's done a lot better since that first debate performance, I must admit. Although he still doesn't have enough to really go anywhere. But I made that video, right? Now, when I made that video, I think that we had something like 100 thumbs downs on that video or something like that. And very few thumbs ups. I knew that was going to happen, right? But I posted that on purpose to make the Andrew Yang supporters mad, because I knew that they would all try and comment on it and push it up in the algorithm. And AOC does the same thing. That's how she gets popular, is she says things and she does it in a way that attracts negative attention. There's other ways to do it. She's choosing to do it this way. And then, of course, she can turn around and say, oh, I'm the victim. But don't for a second be fooled that she's not trying to get this negative attention. The negative attention is exactly the result that is desired from that social media strategy. And I know so because I've used it. How the hell is 10 families any comparison to a whole economy, right? Well, like, the whole thing just sounds so dumb to me. Like, what idiot is going to pay into this idea so that somebody else can get $12,000? And then you're only going to do 12 people, and that's not going to prove anything. And then you have run this risk that you're not going to be able to make the funds. Well, I suppose you probably should be able to make the funds because you're only talking about $120,000, and they can probably raise that very easily. I mean, they probably have raised millions, right? But man, I don't think that strategy is going to help promote his idea. So many promises tonight by the demos we will see. So I wonder, we should go back over here. Refresh the page. Show the 24-hour. Okay. So Warren has declined by about 3 cents. over the past 3 hours. Biden is flat to down 1 cent. Sanders is basically flat. Harris, down here at the bottom, actually down 2 cents. Harris, Yang is down a cent, or mostly just 1 cent. And Buttigieg, he saw a slight increase, but I'm gonna say flat because he was 9 earlier today, so he's still flat. Where did this support go to? Did it go to Castro? There's somebody else in there that we can't see. There's somebody else in there that we can't see. Yang won tonight. Yeah, right. Gee, good grief. Let them have 2020, then Trump Jr. will take it back. I really think, personally, I think that it would be better for the Democrat Party in the long run to lose this election. Because one, after 8 years of Trump, you're definitely going to have if they lose in 2020, they have a pretty good chance in 2024, for sure. And I think that there are just so many problems with the strategy and the things that the Democrat Party are doing today. And there was some big problems through the election, but the problem was that they didn't have to face it because they blamed it all on Russia. They have to face those issues, and probably the only way that they do so is if they lose. If they win this election, then they're going to read it as a validation of absolutely everything, and that would be devastating to them. You put them in there and you let them have their way for 4 years, and then people will not elect them for another 20 years. It would be like that. I think. So yeah. That's kind of one of the things that's bothered me, is that the media narrative is so in favor of the Democrats that they haven't had to face the reality of the situation yet. I'm scared what Trump will do if he gets reelected. He will feel like he can just do anything without consequences. Probably true. I mean, I don't worry so much about like the immigration stuff and those sorts of things, because I think he's just going to continue to do the things that he's done. And I think for the most part, he's solved that problem. He'll just build more wall and continue to not allow refugees. No big deal. But he'll stand firm on China, and he might, who knows what he might do on some other things. He would be more cavalier with some other decisions, like like environment, for instance, would probably be a good example. Anything to do with the environment, he'd probably be a little bit more cavalier about it. Little Rubio been very quiet. Morris Davis. He puts Pete on top, followed by O'Rourke, Warren, Biden, Booker, Harris, Klobuchar, Castro at the bottom. They really did not like what Castro did. I'm gonna have to watch that again. Addie Demise. For the third debate in a row, Cory Booker won the night. Yeah, you're full of shit. Swisher Girl, I did my civic duty and watched the debates. I hope I die in my sleep. And then she takes a nice picture of herself for who knows why. Probably because we're all going to click on it and like her tweet or something like that. This is social media, folks. After every debate, McCaskill says Buttigieg did great, but yet his poll numbers have gone down. Here, I'm telling you guys, here's my case for Buttigieg, okay? The reason that he's not doing well is because black people don't like gay people. If you elect him as president or as your nominee, black people will get over it. They will be like, oh, maybe gay people aren't so bad. I'm telling you, it'll happen. That guy being the nominee will make significant strides in terms of the public perception of gay people, without question. So they'll get over it, and he would still be a good nominee, I think. In fact, I think he might have the best chance of beating Trump. No joke. He may have the best chance. He doesn't say anything terribly crazy. He is left in policy, but moderate and conciliatory in tone. He is able to capture the intersectionality element because of his sexual orientation. There's a lot of great things about Buttigieg. I don't know why he hasn't broken through, but if he sticks in there and he outlasts some of these other people, and then it comes down to it, and it's like Buttigieg, Warren, Sanders, maybe Biden is still in there, maybe Kamala Harris is still in there. Well, among those people, when everybody is unhappy with their selections, they're going to turn to Buttigieg as their anybody but Biden candidate sort of thing. I still think he stands a good chance. And if he doesn't, he stands a good chance of being vice president. Okay, well, it's 9:05. I think I should get ready to go to bed. But thank you guys. We only had like 5 viewers or so, but you guys were with me the whole night. So, and despite my like very passionate rants and arguing with you guys pretty darn hard, but y'all took it like champs, and you always make really good points. And I think everybody here thinks, and that's like, one of the things that we want to have happen here, and I think that's good. Lion Ted has been in this spotlight more. Oh, Lion Ted. Good times. Okay, well, tomorrow, Friday. What do we got on the docket for Friday? Do we have any key numbers? Core retail sales and consumer sentiment. Oh, that's going to be a very, 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 very important number. So tomorrow could be a big day in markets again. So I better get sleep. So I will see you guys tomorrow, bright and early. In the meantime, you got to go to bed. Like, if you want to get those 8 hours of sleep, you got to go to bed like right now, guys. So go to bed. I'll see you 8:20 Eastern time. In the meantime, stay profitable.